Today, I'm going to walk you through how to transfer data to and from the DeepSense platform on a Mac. Some of our users may be subject matter experts with less technical savvy. If any part of these instructions are too technical, feel free to send an email to support@deepsense.ca and we'll help you transfer your data. Now, before you start, you'll need to know where the data is located on your computer and where you want to transfer the data to. We'll use the terminal to navigate to our data and for the transfer itself. In this case, I have a directory on the desktop with some example data in it. We can now use SSH to connect to the DeepSense platform. And find where we want to copy the data to. For this test user, I have a data directory set up, /data/ds test project. So we'll copy it to there. Because we'll be going back and forth between the local computer and the remote host, it's handy to have two tabs open. There are several methods to transfer the data, and which one we should use will depend on the amount of data being transferred. For small amounts of data, less than about 5 gigabytes, we can transfer using the login nodes. For this example data, there's about 12 megs, so that will be fine. Typically, one will use SCP or rsync. SCP stands for secure copy, and will have the same usage as the normal copy. So we can copy, for example, this test.txt file to a different file name. And now, of course, we'll have another file in there. So the usage is CP, the source, and then the destination. If we want to copy the data, we use SCP. And we can copy, let's say, the script to the remote host. So now we have to specify the destination, but we also have to specify where the destination is. So it's always done like this. We'll have your username at the address of the remote host. So login1 or login2.deepsense.ca, followed by a colon, followed by the directory we want to copy it to. So we'll copy that from here. And we'll use this directory a lot, so we'll copy this whole thing. So again, SCP, the source file to the destination, and that'll ask for your password. And it copies. We can also use wildcards when we use this. So we could, for example, copy all these data files. And then again, your username at the address, colon, directory. Since these are a bit bigger, they'll take a little longer to transfer. All right. Typing in SCP or rsync alone will display their usages. So SCP, there's a bunch of options you can put in, and then again, source and destination. There's really only one option I use frequently, and it's -r. So we could say SCP-r, this whole directory, same destination. So this -r means recursive. It'll copy everything in that directory and all the subdirectories. If we didn't use the -r and we pass it the name of a directory, it'll give us an error. So now you'll see it's going to copy everything in that directory to the test project directory. So we can take a look. We copied the script, we copied the data, and then we're in the middle of copying this whole directory of files to copy. Okay, now if we type in rsync, we can find its usage. However, it is much more complicated. There are a lot of options which are beyond the scope of this talk. But we can use it in the same way. Say rsync-r copy to the destination. And we could actually specify files to copy to. Unlike SCP, rsync doesn't show a lot of output unless you specify it. And that's with the -v option. But if we go over here, we'll look, and now we'll have a files to copy to directory. So these are the two best ways to transfer a small amount of data. Remember, this is anything less than about 5 gigabytes. If you have more than 5 gigabytes, but less than about 100 gigabytes, we classify that as a medium-sized transfer. Since the login nodes are the main point of contact for all of our users, we don't want to overload them. We have 2 protocol nodes which are used to transfer data. However, you can only connect to them via Samba. So to do this, we're going to switch over to Finder. And we can go to the menu here and hit Connect Server. The shortcut is Apple K. And it'll ask you for the address of your server. So the format here is smb:// and then the server, so either protocol1 or protocol2.deepsense.ca. And it'll ask you for your username and password. And then we'll connect. Sometimes this is a little slow loading, so we'll have to wait for that. We can only connect to the data directory when we're using Samba. So we can't transfer data directly to your home directory or to your Scratch directory. Now you'll see all of the subdirectories of the data directory, most with this sign that means you don't have access to it. The only one we do have access to is this test project. And you'll see all the files we had already copied there. What's good about using this is we can now grab a file from our computer and simply drag and drop it. In addition, if you want to copy from DeepSense to your local machine, we can do that just the same. Grab any old file here and drag it to our computer, and we'll copy. If you want to do the same thing with SCP, we just have to switch the source and the destination. So we can say SCP, again, your user at the address, and then the path of the file you want. So we know there is a test.sh file there. And then we'll say the destination, we'll say it's on the desktop, but we'll call it test2.sh. Right, and it copied the file from DeepSense to our computer. A final note about connecting with Samba. I find it works well for a small number of files, but if you have a large number of small files, it can actually get bogged down pretty quickly. If you want any help with the data transfer, please send an email to support@deepsense.ca, and we'll be happy to help. If you want to transfer anything over 100 gigabytes, we find it best to put the data on an external hard drive and physically bring it to us. We can go to the machine room, plug it in directly, and transfer the data for you. And that is all for today on how to transfer data to DeepSense on a Mac.